If you're not eating it with rice, maybe you want it to be a bit more filling, so then you would add more vegetables, you would add more greens, you'd add more herbs, more chilies, all these different things. Shut up, you fridge, I'm talking. All these different things. Oh shit, that actually worked. Hey guys, so it's been raining a lot lately. Yeah. Rain's not really my thing. Like, I like when it's raining, when I'm playing sports, or when you're at a concert. Those things can be really fun, but when you have work to do and you kind of have to wake up early and do all these different things, it just kind of bogs me down. One of my favorite things to eat when it's raining is soup. Soup is like the to-go kind of dish that you always want. I don't know why that is, but I feel like a lot of people feel that simply because I guess it's comforting, it's hot, it's warm, it's something that reminds you of when your mom used to cook for you when you were sick, and you know, when it's rainy, usually the temperature drops a little bit, you don't feel the humidity as much, and it just makes you feel like you want to cuddle up at home under some thick blankets and just eat some nice, hot, flavorsome soups. What's great about the Philippines is that we have so many options for soups, and I actually remember eating a bunch of them when I was a kid. And I've always been a real adamant and a real champion of saying that food kind of just takes memories out of you and can kind of recreate these situations where you remember certain things in your life that you don't necessarily remember. And that's one of my favorite ways of cooking, is to cook based on a dish you remember tasting when you're younger. Obviously, you'll never hit it quite right because the situation of where you eat a certain dish affects greatly the taste of the dish. That's what I think. Like, if you're in a happy place and you find yourself in a beautiful country and you try this beautiful baguette, it'll be the best baguette you've ever tried in your life. When you have it here, it could be the exact same baguette, but because your situation is different, because your perspective is different, it might taste differently. So that's why you have recipes to try to recreate these things and always have the same approximation of a certain dish. But then you have to remember also that ingredients, depending on where they're from, what soil they're from, even within the same country, can taste very different. A tomato from Baguio will taste very different from a tomato from Batangas or from Bukidnon, because the environment and the weather is very different. Today I'll be making one of my favorite dishes of all time, my favorite soups, and that's a beautiful sour sinigang. So let's get to it. I need to actually go to the bar now, so I'm literally just in my car alone, thank God, or else that'd be really embarrassing. I've got a couple lights set up here, trying to use what I have, just making a quick video before I run into the bar, and then I will come right back at it and we will make some sinigang tomorrow. Peace out. So if Satan and Voldemort had a love child, this would be it. If your coach asks you if you're good, you say no. Or else this happens.
He's good.
That happens.
He's good. He's ready.
This happens.
He's ready.
You're ready to see some really bad form.
Here we go. Ready, my friend. Alright. 2, 1, go. Good. There you go. You got this. Yeah, beautiful.
Okay, one of my favorite dishes. Usually, I've gotten a lot of heat in the past for remaking Filipino classics in a way that might not be extremely traditional, but when I come to think about Filipino food, like I said before, it's all about memories. It's all about who taught you how to cook a certain dish. So if your Lola taught you, or your mom taught you, or your aunt taught you, I'm pretty sure all those recipes are different. There is no like one mother recipe, unlike French cooking where it's very kind of like specific. You have one way of making a sauce. In the Philippines, you have multiple ways of doing lots of sauces. You have multiple ways of doing lots of soups. And sinigang is one of those. When you travel across the Philippines, and I really hope you guys do, you'll see that there's so many different variants of sinigang. The protein that you use, to what you use to make the broth sour, to the varying profiles of acidity and sourness that you might have in the broth, all this can change in the vegetables that you use, obviously, depending on what's grown locally. So when I look at Filipino dishes in general, I try to break it down into what are the essentials, right? So sinigang, we have sour, number 1. 2, protein. 3, broth. And then finally 4, we got vegetables. My handwriting is absolute shit. Sometimes I write things that I can't even read myself. It's pretty terrible. So what's important when you're making dishes is to try to have every ingredient that you put in there have a purpose and have a certain taste. And you can really taste it while you're having it. The worst thing is trying something and having absolutely no idea what's in there. Not because you might not know the ingredients, but simply because everything's kind of just blotched together into one big mess. What I love about sinigang is having crunchy vegetables, really kind of like soft proteins in there, a nice sour broth but not too sour where it makes you cry and kind of make this ugly face. I've seen that a lot of times. Something nice and mellow when you really taste that acidity come off just really gently and really nicely at the end. And then finally I like a little bit of fatty taste, whether that's pork fat, whether that's beef fat, whether that's seafood fat, just something that kind of coats your mouth and just makes you think that you're eating something quite substantial. So for the shrimp sinigang that we're gonna make today, it's actually really simple. We're gonna start with what is the essential part of the sinigang. So we want a nice sour broth, right? So this is number one over here. You can find and see tamarind trees a little bit everywhere, and I think that's probably one of the most classical ones to do it. I do like to tell people to try as much as possible to get fresh tamarind, simply because it just gives you that much more of a natural, tasty flavor. If you can't have it, obviously you can use concentrates and things like that. The one thing I do tell people to stay away from most of the time is your sinigang pack mix, simply because I think one, that's too easy, and two, it has a lot of ingredients in there that you just don't know how they will affect your body in the long run. MSG, right? MSG. That is a massive one. A lot of people talk about it. A lot of people say it's in Chinese food. A lot of people say that they get headaches and everything. There have been multiple studies about MSG, a lot of paid studies and research, so you never really know how true these studies actually are, because obviously big companies can pay nutritionists and dietitians and all that to come out with certain studies in their favor. But with MSG, it's a mixed bag, right? So number one, it hasn't been proven to be absolutely terrible for your body. There has been no conclusive study that says that it's really bad for you, but there have been a bunch of studies that say it's not that great for you, and in the long run, we have absolutely no idea what it can do to you. The biggest complaint people get with MSG is basically that they get headaches at least an hour after. Okay, I get that. That can be really quite bothersome. But when I look at nutrition in general, especially when I'm not so sure about an ingredient, if I don't know something about an ingredient, why would I eat it? If you tell me to lick the floor today, I'm not gonna lick the floor. So if you can avoid it simply because you don't know what's gonna happen to you, then go ahead and avoid it. So for this recipe, we're not using any flavor packets. So the sourness will come from the tamarind broth, which is really important. The other thing that MSG usually brings out is umami flavor, something nice and savory. Umami was found, I think, in Japan. I don't remember the name of the guy, but I'll put his picture here in the edit. That's what's great about editing. You can do and cover up mistakes. So basically it was found in Japan, and he made studies, I think it was on kelp and seaweeds, and found that there was a proprietary flavor that came out of these things when used in broths and stuff. So to get that umami flavor, very simple, we're gonna focus on the second most important part of the sinigang, which is our broth over here. So we're making a shrimp sinigang. So instead of doing a sinigang where you're basically cooking everything with water and everything becomes mush, yes, the flavor might be there, but the integrity of the ingredients might dissipate completely. We'll do it slightly differently in terms of getting umami from all the shrimp scales, shrimp heads. You'll see the flavor that'll come out of that when we're mashing it and everything with some tomatoes and some onions. All right, so to start, not hard at all. We're just gonna start on our two broths. So we're gonna start on our shrimp broth and prepare all the ingredients for that. And then at the same time, prepare all the ingredients for our tamarind broth, so the sour base of the soup. When all your ingredients are in, it shouldn't take too long. Usually the tamarind broth will take about 20 minutes to cook down. So you want to keep it at a really nice low simmer. Just you're waiting for those shells to kind of burst, and once they start cracking, then you know that the pulp inside is nice and soft. Then we're going to proceed simply to just mash everything together and then pass through the fine sieve to really just draw out and extract as much sourness as possible. But there's a slight caveat if you want to as well. I've seen people just remove the shells completely once everything's cooked and pass through sieve, and then use that pulp to re-add into the soup just to really increase that sourness of the whole thing. I always prepare more ingredients than I need to, simply because at the end of the day, when you're cooking like this, you want to decide at the last minute whether or not you're going to be eating this with rice. If you eat this with rice, then maybe you might not need as much vegetables or starches or gabi or kangkong in the dish. But if you're not eating it with rice, maybe you want it to be a bit more filling, so then you would add more vegetables, you would add more greens, you'd add more herbs, more chilies, all these different things. Shut up, you fridge, I'm talking. All these different things, oh shit, that actually worked. All these different things will really matter only when you come down to it and right before eating it. I'm gonna talk really fast because I don't want this to beep again. But yeah, always cook a little bit too much, because with broth you can always add water to it and make more soup to it. It might get a bit more diluted, but all you need to do is simmer it down even further to get the same kind of taste and the same savoriness and the same saltiness without losing anything to the added water that you're adding. But then in terms of vegetables, let's wait for this. You done? But in terms of vegetables, what we can do is we can always add more. Proteins, we can always add more. So that can always be in abundance. And then depending on how many people you're feeding, just add more of these kind of solids. And then if you can, add more liquids as well. So it's really easy. So what I usually do is prepare way too much in terms of what I need for one bowl. And then as people kind of order it, then I finish off the ingredients. So I make sure that everything is kept within the same kind of consistency. Simple, not really, kind of simple. Shut up.
Is it gonna be on YouTube?
So our official tester today, we have our friend here. What's your name?
GR.
Say hi.
Hi.
Wave. How old are you?
7.
Where are you from?
Australia and Filipino.
You're half Filipino, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you know what sinigang is? You've never tried sinigang?
No.
You're such a liar. Okay,
I swear.
so this is gonna be sour. So you have to tell me the truth. You have to tell them the truth if you like it, if you don't like it.
Okay.
Do you like sour food? Okay, you ready?
Usually.
Can you try it? Just take a big bite.
Nope, not sour, and it was good.
Do you like it?
Yep.
Are you sure?
Yep.
Are you lying to me?
No.
Are you? Okay, what do you say at the end of the YouTube video?
Bye. Please subscribe.
And
Comment down below if it was yum.
and
I don't know.
like the video. Subscribe. Comment below. Like the video. Peace out.
That was actually pretty yum.
It was